In 1974, a group of farmers in rural China were just trying to dig a well. What they found instead was one of the greatest archaeological discoveries in history. But this wasn't a discovery that brought them fame and fortune. According to the stories that would follow, what they unearthed was a curse, one that would lead them to ruin. This is the story of the chilling misfortunes that befell the men who awakened the silent, underground army of China's first emperor. For over 2,000 years, thousands of clay soldiers stood vigil in the dark, built to guard an emperor in the afterlife. Many believe this army was never meant to be seen by the living. The men who broke that silence would soon learn that some secrets are buried for a reason. Their discovery brought global fame to China, but for them, it seemed to bring only financial ruin, family tragedy, and early agonizing deaths. Was this just a string of awful coincidences? Or did they truly unleash the ancient wrath of a long-dead emperor? It all started in March of 1974, in the parched landscape of China's Shanxi province. A crippling drought had taken hold, and for a small group of farmers in the village of Huang, the only hope was to find a new source of water. A handful of men, including one named Yang Jifa, his brothers, and their neighbor, Wang Puji, began the backbreaking work of digging a new well. Day after day they dug, descending deeper into the earth. When they were about 15 meters down, Yang Jifa's shovel hit something hard. It wasn't rock. It was the head and torso of a man, skillfully crafted from terracotta. Their first reaction was fear. One of the brothers, Yang Kuanyi, later recalled, "Everyone was afraid to touch it. We thought it was a temple statue. We were frightened that the Buddha would punish us." The village elders were just as disturbed, warning the men they had upset the local feng shui and that digging up these gods would bring disaster. But this was the era of the Cultural Revolution, a time when old beliefs were being forcibly stamped out. Yang Jifa, ever the pragmatist, thought it might be a valuable relic. He and the others hauled the fragments to a local museum, having no idea what they had just stumbled upon. They hadn't found one statue. They had found the edge of a necropolis, a city of the dead, guarded by an army of clay soldiers. Projections suggest there are over 8,000 of them, life-sized and waiting for more than 2,200 years. While it's often said each face is unique, the level of variation is simply astonishing. They had found the guardians of China's very first emperor, Huang. To understand the legend of the curse, you have to understand the man who supposedly cast it. Huang wasn't just an emperor, he was a force of nature. This was the man who unified China in 221 BC, the one who standardized its writing and currency, and the visionary who connected the fortifications that would one day become the Great Wall. His ambition was immense, but it was matched by a deep-seated paranoia and a desperate obsession with his own mortality. The emperor feared death more than anything. He launched a fanatical search for an elixir of immortality, but ironically, his quest for eternal life likely led to his death. It's now believed the elixirs he drank, which often contained mercury, slowly poisoned him, driving him toward madness. Even as he sought to live forever, he prepared for death on a scale the world had never seen. According to the ancient historian Sima Qian, the emperor's mausoleum took a staggering 700,000 laborers, nearly 4 decades to build, though modern historians view these numbers as estimates from a historical text. This wasn't just a tomb, it was a subterranean empire. Sima Qian's texts describe a breathtaking underground world. The ceiling was said to be a map of the heavens, with pearls representing the stars. The floor was a map of his empire, where its great rivers, like the Yangtze and Yellow River, were recreated with flowing liquid mercury. This wasn't just a story. Modern surveys have found dangerously high levels of mercury in the soil around the tomb, lending terrifying weight to these ancient accounts. Legend also speaks of other defenses, booby traps with triggered crossbows set to kill any intruder. And to ensure the secrets of his final resting place died with him, a final brutal act was supposedly carried out. After the tomb was sealed, the artisans and laborers who built it were allegedly trapped and executed within its walls. This is the foundation of the curse. A tomb born from obsession, sealed with blood and protected by poison and legend. For the farmers who found the army, the curse wasn't just a legend. It became the slow, grinding reality of their lives. The discovery that brought China worldwide acclaim brought them, it seems, only misery. The government quickly claimed their land for excavation, stripping them of their livelihood. Their homes, and the homes of everyone in their ancient village, were demolished to make way for museums and gift shops. The compensation they were offered was either insultingly small or allegedly vanished into the pockets of local officials. Yang Kuanyi claimed they received credit points worth about a single yuan. The prosperity that flooded the region completely passed them by. As Yang Kuanyi later said, "Officials and businessmen have made a lot of money from the terracotta warriors, but not us. We got nothing for the discovery." The men who made one of the most important discoveries of the 20th century were left jobless, landless, and broke. Then, the tragedies started. One by one, the discoverers were struck by what the locals began to call the Emperor's Wrath. Two of the brothers, Yang Wenhai and Yang Yanxin, were overcome with chronic illnesses. Unable to afford medical care, they both died at home in their 50s, in agonizing pain. One reportedly died from a skin disease that caused his body to decay. Before we get to the final heartbreaking fate of another of the discoverers, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. If you're drawn to the mysteries that hide just beneath the surface of our history, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an investigation into the world's most haunted objects. Perhaps the most shocking tragedy was that of Huang. According to media reports, he was suffering from acute heart disease and seeing himself as a financial burden his family couldn't bear. He took his own life in 1997. He waited until his family was out, slipped a rope around his neck, and quietly ended his suffering. Of the small group of men who dug that well, at least 3 died in poverty and despair. The survivors, like Yang Jifa, were eventually given jobs signing autographs in the museum gift shop for a small salary, a living exhibit of the human cost of their own discovery. They were haunted not only by the memory of their friends, but by imposters who would line the streets, pretending to be them to make a quick buck from tourists, stealing even the last bit of recognition they had. So, was this really the supernatural revenge of a 2,000-year-old emperor? A curse rising from the disturbed earth to punish those who woke his eternal guard? Or is the truth something far more modern, and maybe even more disturbing? The curse of the Terracotta Army can be seen through a different lens, not as an ancient hex, but as a modern tragedy of greed, neglect, and state-controlled progress. The misfortunes of these farmers mirror a darker story. Their land was taken, their community was erased, and the immense wealth generated by their find was funneled into state and commercial projects that left them behind. They weren't cursed by a ghost. You could say they were victims of bureaucracy and corruption. The illnesses that took them weren't summoned by a spirit. They were the tragic, predictable results of lifelong poverty in a system with no safety net. Huang Puji's death wasn't the work of an emperor's wrath, but the heartbreaking choice of a man who felt he had no other way out. In this light, the curse is very real, but it's a human one. It's the curse of being forgotten, of being deemed disposable by the very history you helped bring to light. As one official from the local cultural bureau once callously put it, it is not important who discovered these relics. The story of the Terracotta Army leaves us standing at a crossroads between myth and reality. On one hand, you have the epic tale of a powerful emperor, his tomb supposedly protected by rivers of poison, and the ghosts of those killed to keep its secrets. On the other, you have the documented, heartbreaking stories of the men who found it, whose lives were crushed not by magic, but by the very human forces of greed and indifference. And yet the mystery isn't fully solved. To this day, the central tomb of Qinshu Huang has never been opened. Archaeologists are hesitant, partly from fear of damaging what's inside, but also because of the very real, scientifically backed concerns over the toxic mercury believed to be sealed within. The emperor's body, the heart of his underground kingdom, remains undisturbed. What other treasures and what other terrors did he design to ensure he would rule for eternity? Perhaps the true curse wasn't meant for the soldiers, but for the tomb itself. a final lingering warning from China's first emperor to the world of the living. What do you think? Is the Terracotta Army protected by an ancient curse, or are the tragedies just a sad footnote of modern history? Let us know your theories in the comments below. Thanks for watching Cursed Artifacts Chronicles.